they're talking racism, they're talking prejudice. Well, we've got to overcome prejudice. We've got to make them understand that we this and we're human and we got feelings. That's all training. But none of that type of conversation deals with what your problem is. It's birthright theft. And it's institutionalized. And traffic court is one of the major tools. Major tools. Supported by the church. With the IRS in the background. And they're all connected. Absolutely all connected. They're linked. There's like a link set up on a computer or a link set up on, like you're doing alarms, you know what I mean? And you might have a brain or something like that. Then they got to get a horn. Then they get a wire. Then they get the button. And those things are connected absolutely just like that. They work in union. They were created together for that purpose. But you know, people look at these institutions as being disparate. They're not disparate. They're part of a larger plan. That's why when people really don't understand the Inquisition, that they can get fooled by this thing because they think these institutions are separate. Because they're not going to see like the preacher and the corporate state and vital statistics sitting down having a meeting and a conversation. However, they're absolutely partners. Because he gets paid when he goes files that marriage license with them, but he's not going to do that in front of you. Because you've just been sold by that daggone preacher that you think loving Jesus. And it's worked perfectly well because people don't suspect it. That's where our problem is. That's why it's like the vampire is hidden in clear view. You understand what I'm saying? And so when you come try to rescue these people, they attack you. You're against Jesus. No, I'm serious.
I know.
And they mean well, but they don't know better. No, they don't know. That's why, that's why the European feels quite comfortable calling our people boys and girls. Knowing we're going to get pissed, but that puts us in our place. But guess what? He be telling the absolute truth. And then our people even, grown as our people are, think minority means number. It means social status. It means political condition. In relationship to other people in society. And our people think it's an Afrocentric, uplifting identity. And then as soon as they admit to it, then they go immediately into chattel property on the 14th Amendment by their own mouth. Same thing with the black, Negro, and colored stuff. This is the reason why they have preachers usually be the civil rights leaders that keep, because they got the confidence of the people. The bottom line is your status and birthright, because the deal is truth does not need a bunch of legal support. Legal support is only to knock down the lies. Meaning that you're right. Just like you got cards and all this stuff, this supports it, but you don't need that. You need to understand it. Much of what we're doing is really because the people don't know their rights. Because we've been held to servitude. But it's more of a training exercise. But even what we do now, we're not going to be doing always. It's just that we want to get out in ethers because they're dealing with instruments in order to bind you to the peonage. And these instruments are causing those bonds and issues that they have out there to be dead. Because it's no different than you and they are in a state and you've been silent. You've been bitching and complaining and marching and praying. It's not what you should have been doing. And all that time, all that you did in any area like that was a drain, a waste of time, and what you call proof of evidence of incompetence. All of which justified the mandate of the corporate state. Now, if you know law, you know that. People don't know law, they caught in emotions of, our people need this and our people need that, and this ain't fair, and these are racist. Everything but what your real problem is. And guess what? Until you get on the real issue, you're incompetent. And an incompetent person is not going to be allowed to run no estate or even receive an inheritance. And then the same person sitting there saying he's Smith, Jones, and Johnson. Come on. In law, you can see the whole thing is just totally flawed. But a person who's caught in the emotion of this, the way most of our people are, They think they got to have a black rally and a meeting.
Right,
and,
right. Money.
And it's none of that. All of that was designed diversion. And the more you do it, the deeper you dig in the hole that you really need to be getting out of. You know how you say, if you keep digging a hole and things haven't changed, one thing that you must do is stop digging.
Right.
If you don't do nothing else, stop digging. But they keep digging. And they're digging with tools that aren't really germane to the issue. And when you're dealing with issues in law that are not germane to substance, it's just like a non-response and an affirmation of incompetence. It really is. You know, and judges know that the people don't know themselves. And even when they get all frustrated, you know, then the judge sends them for a psychological analysis.
To his buddy.
732 or something like they call it, whatever number they have. And the real deal, people get all frustrated, but that's what it really is, because here's somebody saying they Smith, Jones, Johnson, Englishmen, and they want to talk about rights and their Moor's birthrights and they need to really know the nuances of this thing. This is why you see me redundantly over the years. There's a lot of things we can get into. It really is. But I'll stay focused on certain foundation aspects that I know that's the real break is. Because if they get this, the rest of the information's all over the place. The problem is they can get the information, but their receptions will be wrong because it's misplugged. It's like putting everything in a computer, but you keep putting it in the wrong spots. You understand what I'm saying? Or even having a certain vital port, USB port, but it's hidden. It's next to the wheel underneath where you ain't gonna never look. Or they'll have a port for something for input, and they have it miswired inside for output. And you are already handicapped relative to everybody else, no matter what you do. And this is the way this thing is designed. This is why it's so hard to really, for a lot of people, and I don't want to over-talk myself, but why a lot of people really misunderstand this movement. Because they look at it surface, and a lot is on the surface, but it's not really what they say. It's a lot of what they say, but it ain't what they say. This is why when you, but Abdulali, you know, prepares the people, he says Islam is given in degrees. You understand now, the problem that you got is that these grand sheiks ain't giving the people the degrees. That's the problem. I mean, it's ugly, but then you've got to understand our people really don't appreciate who they really are. And it's not hard to understand, but they have limited to a skewed perspective that they're the sovereigns of this land, of the planet. The poverty that exists in our communities, Africa in the West, in the North, in the islands, is totally artificial. Totally artificial. You know, so even when we're looking at them, they're waging economic war on us because they're stealing our virtues, they're stealing our birthright. But people hear that said, but they don't understand how broad it really is. So logically, they're not always mentally prepared to recognize the motive behind the opposition that they get. Just because people are not talking straight to them in the conversation as we're talking, they're absolutely aware of who you are. This is why they'll go to extreme ends to maintain this corruption. Because when you come to the consciousness of your airship, this thing is over for Rome. This is bigger than you. It's bigger than what appears. GPS.
Oh, I know that is.
Yeah, well, that's what the barcode is.
Well, I mean on the food. That's what I'm trying to picture. You know, I know there's barcodes.
That's enough. See, you got to remember, the chemical companies have been attacking the food for quite some time. Right. Not only by neutralizing, but they've also been attacking the seed. Right. So that you can't reproduce. Right. Exactly. Because they're going to do a kill-off. Right. I got you. I'm telling you. And so if you don't have a consciousness, in other words, we have to get out of this idea of being emotionally Afrocentric. Right. We're going to indeed have to, for purpose of survival, to learn more about our earth and how to live off of her in scrimp times, meaning walking past a lot and knowing what to eat and what not to eat.
That's 100% right.
Because a lot of your weeds aren't weeds, they call them weeds, but a lot of it's foods just so they can control it.
Monsanto came out with that hybrid seed and they put in that Canadian field.
That seeds, yes.
And they put it in his field. And he fought them in court to take it out. But no, he won. They had to come.
No, but they still ultimately ruled against them because they're trying to own life.
Right. What he did, he took the seed and took it to Japan and had them check it. That seed, once they put it in the ground, will kill off all the other seeds and it will die. So whatever is in that ground and you have around it, tomato plants or whatever, it will kill all those seeds. So what you have to do, you have to keep buying their hybrid seeds.
You see, but that same hybrid seed is also what's killing off the bees.
That's what's killing.
No, you got to understand.
I'm trying.
No, but look.
I know they've been,
They've been waging war on us. That's why they call it silent weapons.